experience, take one of the many guided tours curated by prominent historians and archaeologists. Along the way, exchange words with some of Greece's most famous historical persons. The classical Greece you are about to explore is at the peak of its glory. This period is synonymous with grand accomplishments of the physical and the mental. Architectural marvels which still stand today dot its landscape, while towering achievements in philosophy, political systems, and art still influence our modern society in profound ways. We hope you become engrossed in the dazzling riches of ancient Greece and welcome you to your visit.
Greetings, wanderer, and welcome to the Acropolis, the shining jewel of Athens. My name is Aspasia. Though I am not originally from Athens, I have climbed to the top of its social ladder using my wit and intellect. I've even earned the love of Pericles, one of the most powerful men in the city. The mind truly is a beautiful thing. Personally, I think the Acropolis is one of, if not the, greatest place in all of Greece. Though, considering it was the project of my partner, Pericles, I may be a touch biased. The Acropolis of Athens is a bastion of art and culture worthy of the gods themselves. Within this citadel, you will find many important sacred buildings, as well as some of the most magnificent art in all of Greece. You are in for a very enlightening visit. When you're done, come find me, and we can discuss the things you have seen. Farewell for now.
The Acropolis has gone through many changes in its long history. It began as a simple rock, was settled as early as the Neolithic period, and then became a fortress in the Mycenaean period. Stone buildings started appearing in the 7th century BCE. But the famous structures whose ruins remain visible today date mainly from a period of construction in the 5th century BCE. The location of the Acropolis is closely tied with Athens' foundation myth. Supposedly, it was the site where Athena and Poseidon competed for the city's patronage. This connection gave the Acropolis a sacred aura, and it was considered the religious heart of the city.
Τραχμάζει. Λέγει στον Κίνα. Τι άλλο έβρισκεται η γνώση. Η γνώση συλλήφθηκε. Δεν έχει επιπλαθμών και αλλά επί των δεδομένων. Μόνος αισθίος ο υπέτειος. Άγιο και φέρε πλειάδα χορευτών και παράστηκε νημή μετασμάτων. Καλό να είναι ιορκιστικών μικρών, συνοδείας χάρη. Αληθώς και πολλούς τούτης εδίνεται.
The Temple of Athena Nike was built on the remains of old fortifications from the Mycenaean era. Worship at the temple can be traced back to the 6th century BCE, but the building itself was destroyed during the Greco-Persian Wars a century later. It was rebuilt during the Peloponnesian War. Given that the name Athena Nike roughly means Athena of victory, it was likely constructed in the hopes that Athens would win the war. Unusually, the temple depicts historical scenes of battles against the Persians instead of the more mythologically inclined art of other Greek buildings. The temple's priestess was chosen randomly among the Athenians and received a salary of 50 drachmae annually, along with skins and trophies from sacrificed animals.
Λόγω εξήγησης των πωλήσεων ζητήματος κοινός και αναπόδραση συμβάσεις έτεινες λιπτέ επιθέμητη. Η τραγωδία κινείται μεταξύ τριών άλλοι παριστάνε το άλογο σε αυτό. Τι άλλο έβρισκεται η γνώση και μη πάρεξ ότι ο εχέφρον και δεν έρχεται επικλάθουμε και ότι μόνο μόνος έστι ως περκύπελος, ο ευθύτης. Και τι εσύ ως περεπλευρέ του κυπέλου, έτεινε τη δράση.
σου το σέχει. Η εργασία διάμελα με το
Συναλλάσσεται στο τέρμα της οδού. Νηνίες το αισθητό όργανο. Επάρασοπολος κάτε.
Σοφόκλης.
The Acropolis was built up over a long period, due in no small part to its partial destruction during the Greco-Persian Wars. It was in the 5th century BCE, though, that the Acropolis received its most significant improvements. This period was an extremely prosperous time for Athens, both financially and culturally. With a booming economy bolstered by trade and the Lavrion silver mines, Pericles, the leader of Athens, financed a huge project to rebuild the citadel. He enlisted the help of renowned artists, like the sculptor Phidias, as well as the architects Iktinos and Callicrates. Together, they erected buildings like the Parthenon and the Propylaea Gateway. Pericles' goal was to make the Acropolis into a glorious monument to the gods and to mortal Athenians.
Μετά διπαριστάνε το άλογο σ' αυτό. Όνους έστι ως περκύπελον, ο ευπίβληση. Εκεί εσύ ως περεπλευρέ του τέλους, έτοιμες τη δόαση ευμετάβολων σκύπων. Κλαφνίκιο
τελείωσε.
Βλάξ, μόνο τη βλάξ επερίγει.
Μάλλον η Σοφοκλέα.
Βρώμεθα το παραδείγματι των έργων αυτού ή να αντιβάλλομεν το δέον.
βαθιά ένα επιχείρημα, διόριση, τον γίγνωσκην και το επίσταστε, σύμφωνηση. Αλλά στα τραγωδίας, Σοφοκλής δείχνει σημείν την ή τρόπο επιτυγχάνεται.
Behind the Propylaea was the giant bronze statue of Athena Promachos, or Athena who fights on the front lines. That name was reflected in the spear and shield the statue held in its hands. It was erected in the mid-5th century BCE by the artist Phidias. According to an inscription, it took 9 years to make and cost almost 500,000 drachmae. At approximately 10 meters tall, the statue was apparently so large that Pausanias claimed its helmet and spear tip could be seen from the sea near Cape Sunion, 60 kilometers away. The ornamentation on the statue's shield was engraved by the metalsmith Mies.
Ανέρεσης εστί, εστιμιασμός, βιτιόμενος είναι να κλονίσει την ισορροπία του πνεύματος. Τας γυναίκας διαπέχεστε πόρωτα αυτής, το αυτό και του γερόντες. Και πλέον διδάσκεστε τα επικαλήματα αυτής, φιλατρώτη και λυτηρία, ρημονίτης και προθώνεν της, ή κατέχεις ωραίων δρυμούς, ελθέ Θεά σώτηρα, άγουσα καλούς καρπούς, απογέηση. Τραγωδία διαφθείρει.
Μεγαλώνει με θεά. Επικαλούμε σε μάκαν. Πολιώνει με περίπου.
Επικαλούμε σε μάκαν.
The Araphoroi were young girls between the ages of 7 and 11 who were in charge of special rites. A list of 4 girls was drafted by the Assembly of Citizens, from which the High Magistrate, the Archon Basileus, chose 2 to serve as Araphoroi for the year. The girls lived in a house on the Acropolis. They were in charge of carrying sacred objects and weaving the peplos of Athena. The peplos was a sacred robe offered to Athena during Panathenea, a festival held in her honor.
Πρόμετα το παραδείγματι των έργων αυτού είναι αντιβάλλομεν των δέων γενέστε εις την συλλογισμών.
Και κλέπτη οικίας.
ευρώ το πεδίο. Τα ημάτια διερριγμένα, το σώμα με λένε το φρό.
Αδύνατον εστί.
Δεν υπογαλότερο. Νερός εστιάται ου περιμένος.
Σκυπτούχε κούρε δημάτων, κοτριόκος με οδηγέ των κομμών. Ελδέ μάκαρ μίστε συμπρίων και χαρημένος εϊ. Επικαλούμε σε μάκαρ πολιόνιμε, πυρίπολε και τελετάρχα, Θεόν Πάτερ, ιδέ και ιέ, σκυπτούχε κούρε δημάτων, βοτριόκος με οδηγέ των κομμών, ελθέ, μάκαρ μίστε συμπρίων και χαρημένος εϊ.
The Erechtheion was an atypical temple. It was dedicated not only to Athena Polias, but also to Cecrops, the mythical founder of Athens, his son Erechtheos, and even Poseidon, the sea god who challenged Athena for possession of the city. The temple was divided into sections. The eastern part housed a statue dedicated to Athena, while the western section jointly belonged to Poseidon and Erechtheos. Meanwhile, King Cecrops' grave was believed to be under the caryatid porch. Under the temple was a crypt that was said to contain the sacred snakes of Athena. The snakes may have had a sweet tooth because the priestesses of Athena allegedly fed them honey cakes.
Ελθέ, η κατέρθεις ωραίων δρυμούς, ελθέ, θεά σώτηρα, άγουσα καλούς καρπούς, από γέης ειρήνην τεράτην, καλυπλόκαμον φιλίαν Θεό, θεά, ευλό.
αναμένουσα τον Νέκιν.
The Parthenon is one of the most well-known buildings in the world and an enduring symbol of ancient Greek civilization. While it is located on the Acropolis, the building is not a traditional temple. It was built by the sculptor Phidias and the architects Callicrates and Ictinus as a great monument to the glory of the city of Athens. That glory is evident in its many carvings. One of the most carved monuments in Greek architecture, the Parthenon's decorations depict several mythological scenes. These include the birth of Athena, her fight against Poseidon for the patronage of Athens, the gods' battle with the giants, and the procession of the great Panathenaea.
Έστι τούτο το δώρο ναύτιση του τάφου.
Ο νέας σχολεία τα φωτοσχάρι σου και δίνουν ιδέες.
The Parthenon's inner chamber, or cella, contained a massive statue of Athena that was considered to be one of the sculptor Phidias's greatest masterpieces. The statue was chryselephantine, a combination of gold and ivory. To justify the steep cost of its construction, Pericles told Athenians that the statue was a gold reserve, which could be disassembled in times of economic distress. The cella also allegedly contained a pool, whose main purpose was to control the room's humidity, which helped preserve the statue's ivory.
κατέχεις ωραίων δρυμούς ελθέ, θεά σώτηρα, άκουσα καλούς καρπούς, από γέες ειρήνες.
Athens' treasury was located in the Parthenon, where it was believed to be protected by Athena herself. The treasury contained objects of great value, acquired from different conquests, as well as a mass of minted silver coins and various offerings to Athena. Pericles also decided to move the entirety of the Delian League's treasure to the Parthenon in 454 BCE. This was a great testament to Athens' power over the rest of Greece. The riches were divided into two parts, the Demosia, which belonged to the city, and the Hiera Cremata, which was dedicated to the goddess and only used for religious purposes.
Επικαλούμε σε μάκαρ πολιόνιμε, πυρήπολε και τελεκάνθα. And what did you think of the Acropolis? It truly is quite something, isn't it? A sacred sanctuary and an architectural marvel, all in one. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. You're confident enough for a test? Very well. Let us see how much you know. Which two gods competed for Athens' patronage? Correct. It was Poseidon and Athena who fought for Athens' patronage. As for who won, the answer is in the city's name. On to the next question. Who sculpted the statue of Athena in the Parthenon? Correct. The renowned sculptor Phidias made the statue, which was considered one of his masterpieces. And now, the final question. Which king's tomb was believed to be under the caryatid porch? That is correct. Cecrops was the mythological first king of Athens, and his tomb was said to be under the Erechtheion. It seems you know much about this place. Well done, wanderer. Very well. On to the next tour.
Welcome, traveler, to the ruins of Mykine. My name is Herodotus, and I am a traveler from Halicarnassus. I retrace the cause of various events, such as wars and great calamities. I describe what I see and record what I'm told, all with the aim of providing a better understanding of why these things occur. Look for me to introduce you to many sights. It is humbling to stand in the remnants of such a great civilization. Looking at these ruins, I am reminded that the past is never as far behind us as we think. These are the ruins of Mykine, center of the old Mykinian civilization. It was home to great warriors and heroes. In many ways, places like Athens and Sparta stand on the shoulders of its accomplishments. This tour will take you through its ruins and introduce you to its most important monuments, revealing its history in the process. I hope you enjoy yourself. I'll be waiting for you at the end of your visit.
The Mycenaean civilization flourished in the Late Bronze Age between 1600 and 1200 BCE. During this period, it was mainly located in the Peloponnese and central Greece. Mycenaeans were known for exploring distant lands. Notably, they battled the Hittite-allied city of Walusa in a conflict that was believed to be the inspiration for Homer's Trojan War. But the Mycenaean people didn't only travel to fight. They learned much from their neighbors, the Minoans of Crete, such as how to write syllabic script on clay tablets. Such tablets provide evidence that Mycenaeans spoke an early form of Greek. They also tell of how great Mycenaean kings ruled over their warriors from opulent palaces in places like Mycenae, Thebes, and Knossos. The entrance to Agamemnon's citadel, or the Lion Gate, is one of the most iconic monuments in Mycenae. It is impressive for both its height and for the intimidating rendering on its relief, which depicts two lions standing on either side of a column. Unfortunately, the lions' heads, which were presumably made of a precious metal or higher quality stone, have been lost to time. The gate was most likely meant to greet a triumphant king returning home from successful military campaigns and to awe foreign visitors. When these shafts were discovered by archaeologist Heinrich Schliemann in 1876, he believed the 6 gold-filled graves to be connected with the family of the great king Agamemnon, even going so far as to proclaim a gold mask he found within to be the death mask of Agamemnon. However, this was refuted by later excavations, which showed that the 19 bodies buried in the shafts dated back to a few hundred years before Agamemnon was even born. In fact, at the time of the body's burial, the Lion Gate and the citadel walls had not even been built yet. It's estimated that the people in the graves were members of the first Mycenaean dynasty. The graves later became a place of worship for Mycenaean kings, who raised walls to protect them. These walls helped preserve several incredible artifacts, including women's jewelry, death masks, and masterfully crafted weapons. By 1250 BCE, Mycenae was at the height of its power, and its living quarters and workshops were numerous. Houses were built everywhere, from the top of the palace's hill near the king's residence, to the slopes and terraces within the walls, to the nearby hills outside the citadel. At one point, the citadel's walls even had to be enlarged to make room for more quarters. The people who lived inside the citadel were those with high status in either the military, religious, or administrative sectors of the kingdom. This is reflected by the ceramic and metal vessels inside the houses, as well as their painted plastered walls. A traveler seeking an audience with the king would have first ascended a steep ramp from the Lion Gate to the citadel's summit. Here, they would have walked into the palatial complex through a grand entrance called the Propylon. Once inside, their gaze would immediately be drawn to the palace's main hall, a monumental area known as the Megaron. The vividly decorated Megaron, which glittered with precious objects and colorful frescoes in its heyday, was where the king would have received the traveler. If the king was feeling generous, he would have shared with the visitor the palace's most marvelous feature, its commanding and majestic view, which stretched from the plain of Argolis to the gleaming Aegean Sea. It was in this palace where a legendary Mycenaean king like Agamemnon would have held court. According to Homer and other poets, Agamemnon led the Greeks in the sack of Troy. Stories say that he was a fearsome warrior on par with Achilles, but also an overly ambitious and arrogant ruler. He sacrificed his own daughter, Iphigenia, to convince Artemis to grant his ship's passage to Troy. After conquering the city, he returned to Mycenae with mounds of riches, and a Trojan named Cassandra as his concubine. Agamemnon's wife, Clytemnestra, was not pleased with her husband's sacrifice of their daughter. She plotted to murder her husband out of anger. The plot was successful, and, depending on the version of the story, Agamemnon was either murdered in his bath by Clytemnestra or killed by his cousin Aegisthus during a banquet.
You've completed the tour. I trust it was an eye-opening experience. Though it did not last, Mycenae was a sort of precursor to what would eventually become the Greek civilization we know today. It's important we remember them, if only to avoid repeating their mistakes. Now, what else would you like to do? Then let's begin. First, I have quite a simple question. Which ancient city may have been the inspiration for Homer's depiction of Troy? No, the Meginians who were at war with Troy in the first place. Yes, the Mycenaeans' conflict with the city of Wilusa allegedly inspired Homer's Trojan War. Now for the second question. Agamemnon sacrificed his daughter Iphigenia to convince which god to allow him to proceed to Troy? No, Agamemnon's sacrifice did not appeal to Apollo. Try again. True, Ares was the god of war, but Agamemnon did not sacrifice his daughter to him. Try a different answer. Agamemnon did not sacrifice his daughter to Athena. In fact, Athena supported the war with Troy, so such a sacrifice would have been senseless. Keep trying. Yes, Agamemnon sacrificed Iphigenia to reconcile with Artemis, who then allowed his ships to pass to Troy. Now, One last question. What was the name of Agamemnon's Trojan concubine? Correct. Following the sack of Troy, Agamemnon sailed home with the Trojan prophetess named Cassandra. You've studied the ruins well, traveler. Then, I suppose this is farewell. At least for now. Safe travels.
Τι το τούτον!
Τι λαμβάνει η χώρα?
Greetings, wanderer, and welcome to the Agora of Athens. I love this Agora. Where else could you find a common fish merchant and an extravagant jewelry seller within a few feet of each other? It's that kind of variety that makes city life so rich and exciting. The Agora is the beating heart of any Greek city. It is a place where all types of people may gather, from citizens and foreigners to magistrates and philosophers. All manner of business is conducted here, including political meetings, legal proceedings, and trade. When you finish exploring, come find me, and we can talk more. See you soon, wanderer.
The Agora was the civic center of Athens, but it wasn't only frequented by politicians and city officials. The area housed a market where people could purchase food and other goods from merchants. It was also frequented by philosophers, who used the public space to establish schools and pass on their teachings to students. Religion had its place as well. Temples dedicated to Hephaestus and Apollo were located in the Agora, along with the altar of the 12 gods and the monument of the eponymous heroes.
Εν ζητώ, ανατρέφονται στους τραγικούς της δομής ταύτισαν. Έτρινες, λιβόαση ευμετάβολος λαφνή.
The painted stoa, or stoa poikile, derived its name from the panel paintings on its wall. The paintings were created in the 5th century BCE by famous artists like Polygnotus and depicted Greek military victories like the Battle of Marathon. The stoa served as a public meeting place for citizens, but it was especially popular with philosophers who used the space to pass on their teachings. In 301 BCE, the philosopher Zeno of Kition chose the stoa poikile as the location for his school of philosophy, the appropriately dubbed Stoicism. The painted stoa, or stoa poikile, derived its name from the panel paintings on its wall. The paintings were created in the 5th century BCE by famous artists like Polygnotus and depicted Greek military victories like the Battle of Marathon. The stoa served as a public meeting place for citizens, but it was especially popular with philosophers who used the space to pass on their teachings. In 301 BCE, the philosopher Zeno of Kition chose the stoa poikile as the location for his school of philosophy, the appropriately dubbed Stoicism.
Αλλά όμως τιμήσατε πολλούς.
Trade in the agora was supervised by magistrates. There were 5 agoranomoi who kept order in the market, controlled the quality of goods, and collected market dues. This provided revenue to the city and helped pay the magistrates and those in charge of maintaining order. The market benefited everyone. Customers bought what they needed, merchants made their living, and city officials received the money they needed to keep the wheels of democracy turning.
κλεφτριδίων εσμέν.
Διεβάν!
Στίου παιδεία και γυναίκες συντόμους.
Μη θεύματα. Τούτο ούποτε
τόσο ικανός όσο οι μέτεροι άπαντες.
ουδή συνεργάσια.
Αφρονή, ο ενός πατήρω γνώση και η αδελφή μου, αλλά όμως ούτω εσύ διάφοροι. Δώσ' μη ευκαιρία, εργάσομαι νυχτερινός, ουδείς ποτέ όψετε.
Είστε τώρα!
Δίδος πίστην τούτης, επί των ημερών ημών.
The original temple of Apollo Patrous was built around 535 BCE by Pisistratos, but was destroyed by the Persians during their invasion a few decades later. It long remained in ruins, except for the altar, which was left standing as a reminder of the Persian sacrilege. Eventually, a new temple was built in the 4th century BCE. Inside was a statue made by Euphranor, the same artist who painted in the Stoa of Zeus. The temple held special significance in Athens, as it was connected to the origin of the city's people. The name Patrous, meaning fatherly, referenced the belief that Apollo was the father of Aeon, founder of the Aeonian Greeks, from whom all Athenians are descended.
Μεγαλώνει και πολιώνει με, χρονία και θυροκτώνε, φυλαγρώτη και λυτηρία,
Μεγαλώνει με
και φωτών ελπίς,
αγλαώτη και γνών
ή
μη την
κατέχεις ωραίων
πολιώνουμε.
γκριμούς.
Πολιώνει με χθονία και θυροκτώνε, φυλαγρώτη και λυκυρία.
The Temple of Hephaistos overlooks the Agora from the Colonus Agoreus hill. Today it is one of the best preserved temples in Greece, owing to its conversion to a church in the Middle Ages. But while this transformation preserved the structure, it also damaged the surrounding sculptures. The temple was dedicated not only to Hephaistos, the god of metallurgy, but also to Athena Ergane, goddess of arts and crafts. Nearly every part of the Hephaistion was lavishly decorated with depictions of famous mythological events, like the labors of Theseus. The Theseus scenes gave the temple the nickname Thesion, a name that lives on today as a city district in Athens.
Όμως γάμος εστί επική.
The Boulaterion was another building in the Agora that contributed to the democratic process. It housed the Athenian Council of Citizens, the Boulé. This council of 500 was composed of 50 members from each Greek tribe, all of whom served a one-year term. They were chosen by lot from among citizens over 30. Every month, one group of 50 was chosen to lead the Boulé's executive committee, the Prytaneis. The Prytaneis met every day of the month and called meetings of the full council in the Boulaterion, where they spent their time discussing bills. The Prytaneon was one of the most important buildings in the Agora, as it was the headquarters of the Prytaneus. The Prytaneus was the executive committee of the Boulé, who ran the city's daily operations. The Prytaneus dined in the Prytaneon, and 17 of them slept on site to ensure there were always officials available to deal with emergencies. The Prytaneon also housed the official weights and measures of the city. The Fire of Hestia, which provided sacred fire for all public sacrifices, was also located there. The Heliaia was the most important court in Athens and was presided over by a group of judges called Heliasts. Judging was a regular part of an Athenian citizen's life, with trials happening almost every day. Heliasts were chosen randomly based on two factors. First, that they were on the official list of 6,000 potential Heliasts. Second, that they were present at court on the day of the trial. A stipend of 2 obols was established by Pericles to compensate for the loss of work while on Heliast duty, and also to encourage participation in the judiciary process.
Ο πατήρ μου έλεγε δίν και δίνε ειστέα. Γιατί όχι?
Ημιοπρεσβή. Η ακριβής τελεία.
Τι συνέβη μόλις?
In the Agora, an Athenian could buy and sell many different products. The permanent retail market was divided into sections according to the category of merchandise. Merchants and craftsmen who worked in the market could be citizens, foreigners, or even freed slaves. They sold everything from food and clothes to jewelry and slaves. With so much variety, competition was fierce, and that competition helped regulate the market's prices.
Της δε αυτή η όχληση. Οχλή.
Βεβαίως, όλα προέρχονται εκ των πιεστήριων έσυλων της πόλης. Ο εμός εξάδελφος έκτισε τα αυτά. Σκοπείτε νέον και έχομεν φίλος εκ παντού. Ου διαλυστά έχομεν έγι. Και
Λέγει το αυτό. Τι έσχει το κάλιστον πάλεπος τεκρέας.
Οι αγρότες φοβούνται μη φέρουσιν τα επόλια σφόνη στα οδούς της πόλης. Η κρεοπόλαια θε αυτούς δει η ένε ζητήσει.
The Heliaio wasn't the only court in Athens. This other court was located next to the South Stoa. Historians believe it to be a court based on the discovery of a nearby box containing 7 bronze ballots. These ballots were used by jurors to give their verdicts. The reason trials were so common in Athens might have been related to their democratic regime, which promoted the individual's right to demand reparations for injustice. However, not all legal matters were settled in this fashion. If a claim was small enough, it was settled individually by a magistrate. Public trials were reserved for more serious offenses, such as murder, theft, and political crimes.
Δύναται διερευνήσιν τα σακρικίας και εφρύνε καλαθινούς αμνούς και μόστους σιτευτούς, αλλά όμως θυμήσετε πολλού.
Οι ημίσεις των ηχθιοπολών εινηγκάστησαν κατά τα κτίνες
Τελείαν και παύλαν.
Ναι, όμως γάμος εστί επιχείρησης της. Όχι, είστε τα πρικό έσονται του ανδρός της.
Έκαψος κρεοπόλης λέγεται αυτό. Τι έσχει το κάλιστον πάλε ποτέ κρέας.
Οι αγρότες φοβούνται μήπως τα εμπόδια σπort.
Έλεγε ότι έστειλε ο τεκούς της συνεγελάζει.
Άπαντα ψευδή.
Το τέκνο παραλατομείο να πήγαγα και ανηλαίος ελιχοβόλης.
Αλλά όμως τιμήσετε πολλούς.
Οι νήσεις των Ιθιοπολών εινηγκάστησαν κατά τα χτίνες ναυτικών. Ούκε βρίσκεις καλό νυχτήν, ούκε βρίσκεις προφέρας.
The mint was where the city made its coinage. It is believed that Athens' mint was in the city's agora, as modern excavations have turned up small disc-shaped pieces of metal used to make coins. Much of the silver required for minting coinage came from the Lavrion silver mines. Athens was so dependent on the mines that when they lost them during the Peloponnesian War, the city was forced to melt down a gold statue of Athena to mint gold coins and avert a monetary crisis.
You have now experienced the Agora, following in the footsteps of countless Athenians before you. I hope the trip has impressed upon you how important this place was to trade, politics, and law. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Very well. Let's begin. Which philosopher's school took its name from the painted stoa? Yes, Zenon taught at the Stoa, and so he and his followers were dubbed Stoics. Time for another question. What other name has the Iphistion gone by? The Vouleftyrion was where the council known as the Vouli met to discuss civic matters. Keep trying. Correct. The name was inspired by the scenes showing the hero Theseus, which decorate the temple. Only one question left. When Athens lost the Lavrion silver mines during the Peloponnesian War, Which statue did they melt down to mint new coins? Correct. The Athenians melted down a statue of Athena to mint gold coins. It's clear you are very familiar with the Agora of Athens. I'm impressed. Farewell, wanderer. May we see each other again soon.
Είναι μεταξύ των σιτίων και της αποθήκης θύρα νεωμένη. Οι μίσεις των Λούνων και πόλης ανελεύθεροι πολίτε άλλοτε πριν εξανδραποδίζεστε. Αναλογίζομαι απλώς.